Our English today is looking at subordinating conjunctions. It's something we've used before and we've asked you to include, but it will help us with our writing this week, so it's good to go over it again. Okay, so we need to know subordinate conjunctions are used to create subordinate clauses. Note that subordinate clauses are used within complex or multi-clause sentences. Today we're going to be looking at something called I saw a wabba to remember the main subordinating conjunctions. And then we want you to write your own multi-clause or complex sentences using different subordinating conjunctions. Okay, and that'll be into your writing through the week as well. So what is a conjunction? A conjunction links two or more words, phrases, or clauses together. And there are two main types with different names. So one is a coordinating conjunction. So for example, and this links two main clauses as an equal pair, and it creates a compound sentence. So slightly different to what we're going to be doing today, because we're looking at subordinating conjunctions. For example, when. And this introduces a subordinate clause. And you can remember some of these most useful subordinating conjunctions by the acronym I saw a wabble. Okay, so it's a fictional animal. It's not really one of the rarest on the planet, but it helps us to remember those main subordinating conjunctions. So it's an acronym that helps you remember the first letters of these ones. So if, since, as, when, although, while, after, before, until, because. Now, there are more, but these are some of the main ones. Even though is a subordinating conjunction, however is as well. Okay, kind of, it just gives us a steer towards those ones. Okay. So how to use them. So subordinate conjunctions are the first words within a subordinate clause. Okay, subordinate clauses, as we have said many, many times, do not make sense on their own, but they go with a main clause. So a main clause will always make sense by itself, but a subordinate clause doesn't make sense by itself. It relies or it is subordinate to that main clause. Together, they create what we call a complex sentence. These clauses always have a subject and a verb within them. That's what defines a clause. Okay, so there you can see yes, your subordinating conjunction after, and she smiled. Okay, so after she smiled, that wouldn't make sense by itself. You need the main clause to go with it for the sentence to make sense. After Christmas, in this case, after has been used as a preposition. Okay, so this isn't a subordinate clause. You might be able to see why there's no verb there. Okay, there is a subject, there's no verb. Okay, so can you spot the subordinate clause and the subordinating conjunction in this sentence? So there's a couple of these. I'll just pause for a minute. So the eager pupils sped into school when the bell rang. Now you can see highlighted in blue when the bell rang is the subordinate clause and when is the subordinating conjunction. So, next one. The whales give birth to live young as they are mammals. I'll just give you a chance to have a look at that. You can pause if you like. Okay, so whales give birth to live young as they are mammals. Okay, so as they are mammals is the subordinate clause, and there circled in purple is the subordinating conjunction as. Okay, this one's been shown for you. So the hopeless rugby team lost the game because they hadn't trained. So because they hadn't trained is your subordinate clause, and because is the subordinating conjunction. Getting the hang of it, hopefully. Okay. So far, the subordinate clause has always come after the main clause. All right. And remember, it always relies on that main clause. The subordinate clause won't make sense by itself. But what we can do, yeah, if you look here, when the bell rang, the eager pupils sped into school. So what we've done there is we've put the subordinate clause at the start. So subordinating conjunctions can also be used as the first word in the sentence. Okay. The key thing to remember here is when the subordinate clause comes before the main clause, make sure you remember to use a comma to mark where the subordinate clause ends. So this is when it's at the start of a sentence. So you've got when the bell rang, comma, the eager pupils sped into school. Yeah, just remember that wouldn't make sense by itself if you left it just as a sentence. When the bell rang, yeah, you need the main clause after it. The eager pupils sped into school. That would work by itself as a main clause. This wouldn't. Okay, and those commas are really important. Okay, this shows that you're really understanding how to use a comma to separate clauses, which you've done through school, but it's like something we want to tick off in year 6. Okay, so can you swap these sentences around so the subordinate clause comes before the main clause? Don't forget those commas. So I have your book ready. I can write these out. I'm going to pause the video just to give you a chance. Or if you pause the video. Okay, so hopefully you've swapped them around like this. So whales give birth to live young as they are mammals. 2, as they are mammals, comma, whales give birth to live young. And the other one, the hopeless rugby team lost the game because they hadn't trained, becomes because they hadn't trained, comma, the hopeless rugby team lost the game. All right. So there we're starting with our subordinate clauses at the start. So even because, yeah, remember also, go back to basics, still need your capital. Don't forget your comma. And then the main clause after it with the full stop at the end. Okay. So you've got a paragraph to go through there. Can you spot the subordinating conjunctions in that text? Okay, so I would jot them down. Yeah, if you haven't got it printed out, then just jot them down and see how many you can find. Ooh, sorry, let's go back. There we go. And I would just pause the video at this point, just whilst you look through them. Okay, so on to the answers. So you've got circle there, as, because, while, although, and before. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that piece. Hopefully you spotted them all. Okay, your turn. So with these sentences, you decide yourself which subordinating conjunction would fit best at the start of the subordinating clause or subordinate clause. Is there more than one possibility? You might want to jot that down as well. So some of them there are. Okay, so give those a go. And again, I would pause the video at this point. Then going down to some of the answers you could have. Let's see if we match up. So the first one, I am sending you a letter because I am your biggest fan. You could have as well. I am sending you a letter as I am your biggest fan. So that would work. The second one, so after or before. So after I eat lunch, I am going to an important meeting. You could have before I eat lunch, I am going to an important meeting. But others wouldn't fit. I don't think you would use because I eat lunch, I am going to an important meeting. Doesn't really fit together or make sense. This one, since he was thrown from his saddle, Henry was wary of riding his horse. And the last one, The two chemicals should cause a reaction if you have used them in the right quantities. There we go. And then there might be other options as well. There might be some you think work just as well. Okay, so getting towards the end now. Quick one to spot. Can you spot the subordinate conjunctions in these sentences? So I'll pause the video whilst you're looking, as I'm just about to highlight where they are. So in A, until she tried, Daphne didn't know that she could whistle. So until, yeah, until is your subordinating conjunction there, and there's that comma after the clause. Okay, so this one, the subordinating clause is at the end or after the main clause, and it starts with while. Okay, so while the children made a snowman. And remember, you could swap those around. If you're choosing your own sentence, writing it, while the children made a snowman, comma, heavy snow poured from the skies. And the last one, although. So although it was expensive, comma, the couple enjoyed their meal at the award-winning restaurant. Okay. And what we're doing by using these subordinating conjunctions, sometimes at the start, we're just showing we can really kind of manipulate our sentences. We understand how to write them. It makes it a bit more interesting. You've got different sentence starters. I mean, it's just showing good construction of your sentences. Okay. So these sentences then. Complete the sentence below, choosing subordinating conjunctions to form the sentences. Use each conjunction only once, so don't repeat them. And if you want, give them a go at swapping around. Maybe either put your subordinate clause at the beginning, if it's at the end, or vice versa. So if I let you have a go at those, you can pause these. I'll write out the whole sentences, so we're actually getting some sentence practice, making sure we've got commas where they're needed. Okay, I'm going to let you judge those sentences, whether you've got conjunctions, the right conjunctions, and if you swap them around, whether they're still making sense. You can send them in, that can be your thing. And if you want a challenge today, you write 3 or 4 of your own sentences on your own subjects. And again, I would just practice swapping the clause to the front of the sentence. Okay, there's one last challenge, one last bit of fun. Okay, I will leave it here because on the last slide is the answers. So can you remember, without looking back, all of the subordinating conjunctions using I saw a WABB acronym? Okay, so maybe spell it out. I, or which one was I? S, A. Yeah, see how many you can remember. I'm going to leave you now, but the answers are on the next page.